So last session, we kind of had you guys make the presentation. I hope the ratings work out well on that. I get invited back. This session, it's kind of interesting. Mobile and open source. How many of you do mobile anything? How many of you do it mobile and open source? How many of you do mobile and open source? We're down to 1 or 2 already. How many do mobile and open source that is not, doing something with WebOS or whatever? You actually have an open source mobile project. Do you? What's the name of your project?
I'm not a developer.
Okay. That's okay.
I do a fair amount of mobile stuff, but mostly right now revolving around using Linux thin clients to RDP and terminal servers.
Awesome. So what we're going to do is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to grab that wireless mic away from you again, sir. And so I feel weird behind here. It's very, very awkward. So what we're going to do is different. So we kind of open source Keynote, and that was fun, and I appreciate everyone's help, because it's always a risk, right? I did it once with an audience of 15,000, and everybody's like, there were no questions. I was like, I am screwed. And it took like 10 minutes to get a question out of them, and then everybody had questions. But just like we're trying to deliver more value in that keynote and say, okay, let's actually get some questions answered, and if they weren't answered, come and see me. I'll be here all day. This time, I want to go ahead and do the whole standard thing and tell you a little bit about what I'm doing in mobile and where it's at, but not as a way of the whole, like, I'm great thing, but more as a context thing. Because what I'd like to do in this session is I'd like to actually start an open source mobile project, because there's not enough of them. So is everybody up for that? So, and we'll use SourceForge. Is Elizabeth in here? So you'll help us. We'll build it out on SourceForge. Awesome. See? I show you guys the love. So you just didn't know that, because nobody ever knows what I'm going to do until I'm like halfway through it. But there's not a lot of open source projects. So unfortunately, Caddick Moon Studios founded a year ago. We've done a whole lot of stuff in mobile. We started with 3 guys, and we had a 1-page website. We're now 6 guys, and the website is an entire 2 pages. And it says, don't call us. Yes, we doubled in size. But we've been tremendously successful. I was one of the founders of the iPhone Dev Camp, along with Raven Zachary and Dom Segola and Chris Messina and those guys. And I did a pre-dev camp and a bunch of other stuff. And so I've kind of been part of kind of the mobile community and trying to open up the mobile stuff for quite a while. But when I went to start Caddick Moon, it was the night before the iPhone was released, and Raven Zachary and I were walking around New York, and he goes, I just want to let you know, we'll start an app company. And it was kind of fair warning, like, we're going to do this big event, and I'm going to be starting a company around it, and just wanted everybody to know up ahead of time. And he's an amazing, amazing guy, a very good friend, and I thought to myself secretly, I am also going to start an app company. And then, like Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars, the voice of one of my mentors, Tom Bishop, old Bell Labs guy, said, pioneers get arrows in the back. And I realized that all my startups had one common point in failure, and it was me. It's because I hang out with a bunch of guys like you, and then I'm like, everybody does this, not realizing that outside of the like 40 to 100 of us, nobody in the real world does it, nor will they buy it. And so the startup doesn't go so well. So I got with a good friend of mine, and we decided to wait till about 2010 to launch a company. Launched it at South by last year. Had a bunch of companies sponsor our launch party, which was like, whoa, we definitely got the timing right, because they're paying for booze for all of our friends, so that's a good sign. And then we did a couple projects that everybody talks about. Now, we've done a lot more than this. We've done some cool augmented reality projects. We've done a bunch of research. We have an app called Color Aid that allows colorblind people to identify colors. We've got Flight Aware, which will show you all of the planes in the air above you at an exact moment in time. It parses FAA database, tons of great stuff. But the only 2 everybody talks about are the Daily and Grover. And so, yes, we worked for Steve and Rupert and did the Daily and delivered it. And it's about 130,000 lines of code written about 98 days. And it's a new everything. It's a new publishing system. It's a new way of publishing. It's a new way of press. They're not aggregating articles. They actually have over 100 reporters in a room that are writing original content, and some fantastic editors. It's a really, really, really cool project. First subscription thing, it was a bunch of firsts. And so nobody ever wants to be the first, and we thought we'd take the risk on that one. The other one's Grover, the monster at the end of the book. How many of you people know that story, right? That's shocking. Because when I was at CES, I literally could have been like, I secretly have the Daily. And people would be like, whoa, is that Grover? Pow! They love that thing. And so these are kind of 2 stark projects that are a lot different in how they were built and how they were done. But they're also both proprietary projects. And so, that brings me back to, what about mobile and open source? There's a lot of people that will argue that, well, Android's mobile and open source, right? It is. WebOS, right? There's tons of things out there. Here's what there's not enough of in mobile and open source. Things that help you guys build apps, or in particular, build better apps. Now, Google did the App Inventor thing, and it was a big press thing, and then it's kind of fallen off, and we tried to do some stuff around that. We couldn't really get enough of the interest. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about building apps. Let's just foregone conclusion. There's open source in mobile at the OS level, and there's some great stuff out there. That doesn't help a user do something. It gives a platform on which they can do something. That doesn't help them do something. It doesn't help them do something in their everyday life to do the one job that technology has that it always fails at, which is to eliminate complexity, right? It should make things easier, not harder. So how many of you have a mobile project at all? Okay. 3, sorry, the lights are bright. 5, 7. Okay, great. So we got 7 people in here who have a mobile project. How many are they all commercial projects, or are they open source? Show of hands, commercial projects on those projects? Open source projects? See, this is what I'm talking about. There's no hands for open source, right? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what these projects are, what problems you guys are having in getting these projects done, and then we're going to talk about how we could come up with a set of open source code that we'll help with, okay, we'll contribute to, obviously, hopefully get a lot of our friends to contribute to too, that we can start today in a project that's going to allow people to do things, better, faster, cheaper. So what are the suspects? Does your app do Twitter, Facebook integration? Nope, it's there. 2 great things, right? And that's not rocket science. There's no super proprietary thing that's going to make or break my company based on that. So maybe cross-platform. Let's talk about cross-platform. Give me a specific problem with that. So I have an incredibly strong opinion on that. Shock. When we build apps for customers, we don't ever build them cross-platform. We don't do a lot of HTML5. We don't do a lot of things that can be reused, or taken from the iPhone to the Android, or Android to WebOS, or WebOS to Bada, or Bada to Migo, or any of that. We build for all those platforms, and I'll tell you why. Because consumers have very limited budgets. They're not developers. And when they bought that new iPad 2 or that Motorola Zoom or whatever they purchased, they made an investment that they're going to be stuck with for a while. And they made that investment based on what? Based on the way that product was marketed to them, as far as it's got faster graphics acceleration and more memory and so on and so forth. Okay? And in doing that, they want to see that out of their apps. And what you have when you use those tools, or you do HTML5 or whatever, and HTML5 is wonderful. I'm not knocking it. There's plenty of places for it, plenty of places to mix it in, plenty of ways to use it, okay? But when you do that, you homogenize your offering across those platforms, and you cheat me as a user, because now I've got an extra 2 gigs of memory, and my thing could run faster, but it won't, because I'm using what you made work for everybody else. That's just not right. Now, that brings up a question, and the question is this: great, whurley, how do we actually build an app then if we got to support 4 or 5 platforms? And the answer is, you have to. That's software development. It's never been any different, right? It used to be, did you want to sell only on Windows, or do you want to sell on Windows and Mac? And then it was Windows and Mac and Linux, right? This is a problem that's always been there. And there's been things like Java and other attempts to say, well, we can write once and read anywhere with this stuff. And they've consistently done kind of a mediocre job. When it comes to mobile, if you want to really provide value to your user, you need to exploit every single feature on that platform you can. And that means writing a lot of code. And it's expensive. And it's a pain in the ass. And you're making 99 cents an app, which means you're never going to see that return on investment. And that's why you should focus on who your users are and what they use and what they want. We talked about that earlier, getting the users involved. But let's go back to this gentleman up here for a second, because he actually brought up something we can combine with what you just said. Okay? He said his app doesn't do Facebook or Twitter integration. What platform is it on? You're working on Android. Fantastic. So Twitter, Facebook, web APIs. We could start some projects right now today in this room And we could pick our platforms. How many people use Migo in here? Anybody? WebOS? So 1, 2. All right, let me get the WebOS guys up here, because you're involved in an open source project, so you can't raise your hand. Come on. Come on. WebOS guys, get up here. You guys will sit right here where it says reserved for media, because none of them showed up. They're like, open what? All right, we've got 2 WebOS guys. All right, Android guys, you're there. Come up here. Sit over here too. 3 of you, come on up. You guys have a mobile project already? Oh, good news, you got one now. Come on. Sit up here. iOS developers, anybody? Ma'am, you want to take a seat on the front row? No other iOS developers? Come on up. So we got iOS, and we got, what do we got? We got iOS, we got Android, we got Migo. You guys actually said that? No, I'm just kidding. You didn't say Migo. Nobody did. That's okay. So we got no Migo development. Jim, are you going to join us? Oh, darn. I thought we had a project leader. So we got Android, we got iOS, WebOS. Anybody? Nobody? All right, what other platforms can you guys think of that you use? Any other platforms? Anybody do Windows Phone 7? Somebody? What's this? Well, come on up. All right, so hang on. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 contributors, or at least that's what I'm being led to believe. Nope, you sit right here. Nope, you got to go on the front row. There's a seat for you right there. It's because I got to work with you, so you guys got to be close. All right, so now we have a problem set. The problem is Facebook and Twitter integration. It sucks. There's a million ways to do it, and they're all different, right? So where's Elizabeth? You want to come up here and join us? If I want you to. You don't realize it, but you're our project manager now. We won't. Yes, no, we're not actually too big to fail. We're just small enough to fail perfectly. No, you're going to come up here, actually, Elizabeth. You have to come up here with me. Yeah. Yeah. Didn't Ross? Didn't Ross tell you anything? Great.
I have a login.
Yeah. All right, great. So, what do we need? Oh, we're not going to see that. So we'll hang on. Let me open up. Let me open up.
We should log in as you though.
We will. We'll do this at the end. We don't waste our 20 minutes on everything. Oh, you have super secret stuff on your SourceForge? We can't see that on the screen? You sure? Not for the cameras? All right. I don't have open office on here. Surprise. All right, so we've got a problem set. We have 2 problems. We have Facebook and Twitter integration. You're the only one that has this problem. Who else is developing a mobile app? Who's run into something that's maybe stumped them? They don't have integration? All you guys are in a mobile section? None of you actually have a mobile app? Interesting. Well, good news. You can all start one. We're going to have a free Facebook and Twitter integration soon. So what was your name? Travis. Travis, come up here. Just sit right here. You're our official Android guy. Which one of you wants to be my official other guy? Where's the Microsoft guy? Pop up here. Ma'am, iOS? Yep, come on up. Sit up here. It's one of you two. Huh? Oh, you're iOS. It's one of you two.